The Naked Gun is directed by Akiva Shaver and stars Liam Neeson, Pamela Anderson, and among others. And this story, it deals with Frank Drebin Jr., the son of legendary Lieutenant Frank Drebin from the original films, and played by Liam Neeson, where he has to essentially stop the closure of the police squad from coming through and also stop Danny Houston and company from this device that they have. Along the way, he ends up falling in love with Pamela Anderson. Now, here's some backstory for you. Now, growing up, I'll admit that it took me a long time to actually watch the original Naked Gun films because I saw bits and pieces of them when I was a kid, and the same thing goes for Airplane, but to give a full disclosure, I was always a big fan of Leslie Nielsen growing up, and he was always one of my favorite actors, and a lot of the comedies that he starred in, especially from the days of Airplane, the Naked Gun series, and among his later stuff with Wrongfully Accused and stuff. I got the late start with him growing up because I got used to watch the ones that he did in the 90s, like Spy Hard, Wrongfully Accused, things like that. So I had seen pieces of his earlier movies, but I got the late start with some of his later works, especially with Scary Movie 3 and all that. So I was still able to see some of his classics growing up. I just didn't really get a chance to watch some of his legendary movies until, as of recently in the last couple of years, the last years alone, essentially. And so finally being able to watch the Naked Gun series and also Airplane, it was really great seeing how he came across as a guy that started out with just being just a serious actor for a while and then going into comedy, because when Airplane came out, it was essentially playing it like telling all the actors to pretty much play it straight, like if they're in a real disaster film, and then making the comedy work like that. And his deadpan delivery and everything, and so much, work with not only just Airplane, but just so many of the other films that he did, that no matter what the movie was, he just brought so much like gravitas to any of the roles that he did, and even with other ones that I still to this day find very underappreciated, like Dracula Dead and Loving It and stuff. And so, may you rest in peace, Leslie Nielsen, because finally getting a chance to check out the original 3 Naked Gun films, I laughed my ass off finally being able to watch in their entirety. Like all 3 films, they work in their own way. While there might be some things in the first 2 movies I still was laughing more compared to the third one. The third one I still really enjoy, and it was making me laugh. All 3 of them like really work in their own right. And so I never got a chance to really watch the Police Squad TV series that I did, because I think it was on like 6 episodes or something. So that's definitely one that I do want to check out to kind of see how it all started. But I didn't really think that they were going to be doing like any of these kind of movies for a long time, because I always thought just the idea of them doing another one would just be pointless, especially if you're trying to do a reboot for a franchise that really, if you think about it, Leslie Nielsen is the reason why those movies worked to begin with, And so when word got around that they were trying, there were rumors for a while that they were actually trying to do a sequel for a long time, and even when Leslie Nielsen was still alive, they were trying to get him for at least like kind of extended cameo and stuff in a later career. But sadly, when he passed away in 2010, they scrapped that idea. And then they tried to do other stuff involving where at one point they had Ed Helms involved, and I'm glad they didn't have him involved, because that would have turned the actual movie into too much of a goofy comedy, and that just would not work. I don't think that would have worked. And then when over the years, when they decided to bring Liam Neeson into the role, I was curious on it, because it was interesting to kind of go in to see what he would bring, especially being a serious actor and not really doing much comedy other than some of the movies I've seen him in, like with Many Days to Die in the West and some other examples. But coming from what I also heard from his cameo appearance in Ted 2. It made me curious, but at the same time, I just didn't really feeling it, because I was like, man, as much as I would really love to see Liam Neeson in it, I was also going through a phase where I was Liam Neeson out, where I was watching so many of his movies for a while, and there was also a point where after 2019, I kind of gave up after seeing his movies that were coming out and stuff, and so, coming to that point, I didn't really, pay attention to a lot of his movies that were coming to theaters a lot, but with the talent behind it and everything, from what I also heard that the director was known for, especially from what he did a couple years ago with that Chippendale movie, I've heard good things about. So my expectations were just very low with it. But upon seeing the trailer, I gotta admit, I was actually really curious, because it really made me laugh out loud, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is probably gonna be one of the rare times I go to the theater to see a comedy. Because even though the movie's like a police detective, buddy, like not really buddy cop, but like police movie that has comedy in it. That's what I feel like this one is really mostly. It's a comedy first that just happens to be about the police and stuff. Because sure, we've had movies like Bad Boys and Beverly Hills Cop and all that. But this one is purely more of a actual comedy. This series has always been known for more of its comedy first, and then the action just kind of being basically the backdrop. And so, upon seeing the film, I can say that this was everything I really wanted to really enjoy. And while this one may not probably, I don't know how it would rank with the other three films, because I still prefer the other three in a lot of ways over this one. I still think this is a great new entry to bring it back to that kind of style that I really miss, especially from the old days with the comedy. And so it was definitely a blast. And so to get my pros out of the way, I thought Liam Neeson in this was fantastic. His deadpan delivery, his nonchalant way of trying to like have these like conversations with people and stuff, and the way that he works with all the other characters, especially, and his delivery, like, it's just so funny to watch. And the way that he was also able to do some like keep his kind of like badassery action persona was also really funny too, especially when we get into some scenes where he's like kicking people in the balls and stuff, and like his there's like even a part where he's using his gun and using clips to hit people and everything. Like, he's still, even though I'm burned out with a lot of his action films, it's good. It was kind of remind me of like Arnold's role in Last Action Hero, where he's just having fun with it at this point. And I think this is kind of like more of a comparison with that, where it's not, I don't know if it's not really a satire, but it's really going that kind of feeling like it, you know what I mean? So it really works to its advantage. And then the rest of the cast is also great. It's great seeing Pamela Anderson back in a big movie again, because I haven't seen that movie she was in last year called The Last Showgirl, but I heard that was like her biggest comeback, and I'm glad that she's getting work again, because I do really enjoy a lot of her early stuff when she was doing comedy, especially her appearance in Scary Movie 3 and all that. So she was definitely funny here, and a lot of the humor really stems from a lot of the stuff that we see with a lot of visual gags, like we see in the trailer with with the part where it looks like there's a blowjob happening when it's actually her scrubbing the oven and stuff. But that goes beyond that, because I'm not going to spoil anything, but it goes beyond just that scene. That scene plays longer, and it had me laughing out loud. And then on top of some other stuff where you see background things that you would see in the other films, but like you see Liam Neeson beating somebody up while Pamela Anderson's talking to Danny Houston in one part. Like, I thought that was hilarious. And then there's just so much to go on, but I don't want to go through every scene. But it's just one of those movies where it just goes for an old-fashioned comedy. And I miss when we get to see these kind of comedies that do that, where it kind of pushes the boundaries of being a bit, raunchy at times, because it is PG-13, so it goes for like borderline R, but it does it in such a funny way that I was laughing my ass off, and so was the audience that I was with. Like, it's just great to be back in a theater again, where we get to see comedies, play out where it's laugh out loud a lot. And then on top of that, just the way that the movie is also at a brisk pace, where it's 90 minutes and stuff. It's rarely we see those anymore, because a lot of times the comedies they push it up to 2 hours and stuff. And it just really feels like this would have been something that would have came out in the late 90s, early 2000s especially. So that was great. On top of that, some of the callbacks they do and the tributes they also do from the original films was also fantastic, especially the warm tribute we also get to Leslie Nielsen in this, where like you see the trailer where he's looking at the picture of him and stuff and all that. And then we get that we get the other ones too, where Paul Walter Heiser is looking at his dad, who was I forgot George Kennedy's I forgot his character in the other films. But then you also have the son of OJ's character and everything, and he's looking at me, he's like, nope. So, the movie it kept me going, laughing throughout. It does a great way of honoring the original films while also doing it something really unique, because it's able to blend its own type of humor and not trying to like copy too much of what we see with like some other comedies that come out recently. Now, if I have like any kind of minor cons that holds the movie back, is that not all the gags, not every line or joke works at points, because it does happen where not everything is laugh out loud funny. And it would have been nice if we would have got an intro like kind of what we got with the openings of every other film and stuff. Just missed opportunities that they could have really done more with and everything. But given for what it is, I get that they were trying to do their own kind of thing with it and stuff. Because a lot of the stuff where they break the fourth wall and all that's in here as well. And I thought that was the way they break the fourth wall at points, especially in the mid credits. I thought was really funny. And so the movie is just everything I really wanted to see out of a comedy like this. So with that being a comedy, it's very rare. But I'm going to give this a phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter. It'll probably be on my honorable mentions at least, or if there's room for the rest of the year, it'll probably be in my best of your list. For those of you who have also seen The Naked Gun and also the other films in the franchise, let me know in the comments of what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.